I think this beast needs no introduction, fast and agile, beautiful and extremely hoarding forest dweller. Well, because of its size he has often gets into trouble, which means it's going to be interesting to watch you on no TV, and today we're gonna look at squirrels in action with almost no further ado. Here we go. Meet a squirrel, a very nimble animal that can, in a fraction of a second, appear to grab food and just as quickly disappear, or else, given its size, there's a very high risk of encountering danger. Because a squirrel's body length is usually not 30 centimeters in length and weighing 300 grams. Although there are some larger species squirrels that reach a weight of about 3 kilograms, and in general it is a whole genus rodents, which includes about 30 species squirrels that live everywhere except Antarctica. And what's particularly interesting Australia is that squirrels love nuts and seeds is probably known to everyone. But not everyone know that this animal is capable of going to great lengths, a lot of things, to get their hands on this food. Even taking it from birds. Squirrels are very good at climbing not only trees but also on other surfaces. So they have no trouble climbing into bird feeders and empty them. This squirrel, for example, is an acrobat, head down to his goal, and of course and down below and already waiting accomplices, and even the special protection against squirrels doesn't save the contents of the troughs, and the rodent quickly finds a way to break into it. This feeder, for example, under the weight of a squirrel, closes, but the cunning rodent has figured out that it can get to its food through the top. And look at how this rodent is doing with the sunflower. It's not the squirrel's problem at all that it has to hover on its hind legs, and then even manages to nibble the sunflower seeds. A real tailed ninja. It's the kind of activity that squirrels need to stockpile for the winter. Their survival depends on it. In autumn, each squirrel buries, on average, about 10,000 nuts, and she doesn't remember all of their stores and digs back up about 4,000 nuts, the rest as a rule sprout, providing the forest dwellers, the inhabitants of the forest, with new trees that, interestingly, the area of the brain responsible for of the squirrel's memory every winter grows by about 50%. But it doesn't find all the nuts because there's always someone watching all the time, and as soon as the owner leaves his pantry, as that someone is already stealing a precious nut. But if you're spotted, there's no problem. And there's a scramble squirrels just like that, they can easily steal each other's nuts, and if you find a nut you either eat it or hide it. Even props can attract the attention of these thieves. And this kind of stash fight happens quite often, and the winner in any case has to re-hide the spoils. So it's precisely because of this, a peculiar kind of greed. It's easy for squirrels, they become accustomed to it because they always take as much food as they're given, and it's very easy to get them to show up every day on doorstep. It's true that sometimes squirrels get disrepair and may break right at the while they're feeding or sitting in a tree, and for that to happen just need to eat a mushroom, although to be fair, this kind of thing don't happen very often, and usually squirrels functions without fighting. But to a man's house it can come not alone but for example with a friend or even a competitor, and that little squirrel decided to chase the big squirrel away to get all the nuts for himself, and he did it pretty well, needless to say. Guests like that don't the true owners of the house, and the cats do not miss a moment to show who's here. Host really, squirrels play what they show cats what they can do. After that they usually climb a tree and the mustachioed cats can't get to them. And other competing mice can also get their asses kicked by the cheeky squirrels if they get too close to them or their food, and this is a squirrel sneaking into the chicken's territory and decided to make a mess, and, of course, the chickens didn't like it very much, so they decided to teach the mitten a lesson, but the squirrel moves so fast that the chickens can't do anything. They had to use heavy artillery. The squirrels are so brazen that they can to get their hands on the mitten, mistaking his huge tail for something tasty, and it's not going to be easy to get rid of. You're in the woods, they're making a lot of noise, raising the neighbor's ears. It's a squirrel that's apparently the woodpecker's nest, too close to the woodpecker's nest, forcing the red-headed woodpecker to attack, and the persistence the bird can only be envied because the woodpecker attacks the enemy without stopping. Once he even almost manages to shoot down a squirrel, but it still stays in the tree. I don't know how this confrontation ended. I don't know, squirrels can make even a raccoon angry. So that he will climb up the tree to deal with the offender, but it's a long way from the speed of a squirrel is very far from that fat little thing would have fallen. But the only one that can compete with it in speed, it's the marten. Shows a real class in climbing, but the squirrel can do just as well. The marten's tricks, they help you get their target, although the squirrel is literally a hair's breadth away from being killed. But on the ground, the martens already have advantage as the more hardy and speedy hunters, so the distance between the squirrel and the mink and rapidly shrinks, and eventually the hunter grabs his prey. But even a raptor as fast as a hawk doesn't always manage to grab a squirrel in the woods. Just look at how it quickly escapes from a dangerous hunter. It's a goshawk and it will eat the prey, but what was that? The squirrel ran so brazenly past the raptor that the hawk didn't even know what was happening. And then I think he was very surprised watching a squirrel climbing up a tree trunk literally a meter away from him. Now, who's a really good squirrel hunter is the bobcat. They have a very quick reaction and it's easy for a bobcat to catch up with a squirrel. Is not difficult. Even the famous trick with the tree is a lynx goes very, very quickly, and this lynx takes a squirrel down from the tree, and although it's only a game of rodent, you can't get away from it. This is the Cape ground squirrel, a rodent. Which, although technically called a squirrel, but belongs to a different genus, but its behavior is quite unusual, and that's why I want to tell you about him, because he's been living in Africa. He's found nothing better to do to attack snakes. For example, he can easily attack a cobra and try to. The squirrel has a very fast reaction time and it usually dodges snakes. And it also has a very fluffy tail, which the rodent uses as a kind of shield by attacking the snake from all sides. The cap squirrel exhausts and then bites into its tail. And in the same way the animal hunts other snakes as well. Moreover, they can even attack the snake in pairs, acting together and increasing effectiveness. The defeated snakes are eaten by kappa squirrels and long rubbing against their skin to take over on their scent. It is believed that in this way not to scare off other snakes, for that can become their own prey. That's all. I hope it was interesting and you liked this quick little beast. Then I will be very glad if you appreciate the video. Write in the comments which of the other animals you would like to see on the review. Subscribe to the channel and don't forget to turn on the alert. See you in a